Hello, this is Paweł Kozioł for the project Go4Everyone, and today I'm going to present you some chunks of information which will help you to understand a really difficult game Stanisław Frejlak chose for the next installment of our series. I'm going to talk about so-called pushing battles, but before I begin, I want to show you one elementary way of understanding who is better in a local position. Suppose we play something like this, and now white makes a mistake, playing here. Of course, you know the proverb, honey against two stones, so you do it. The opponent continues, you calculate whether you feel safe with a double honey, and you decide that you do not. So you play here. Opponent pushes, you play here. Now white understands that his position is a bit thin, that there is a cutting point here which may become relevant later. So white plays to safeguard this cutting point. Here, here and here. Now it's your turn, and you obviously don't want to have this magnificent wall, so you try to spoil it a little bit, playing a forcing move here. White connects. And how does it relate to saying whose position is better? It's really simple. If your position turns around enemy stones, then you are on the offensive. You are a player with more options. You can play here if you want to apply more pressure and solidify your position. You can play here if you are more interested in the influence on the top side. You can even tenuki, because if white pushes, you always can go back and you are gaining quite a nice territory on the fourth line, which is better than usual, better than third line. Third line is a line of equality, fourth line is a line of victory. So how all of this relates to a pushing battles? In order to turn around enemy position in one way or the other, or to just capitalize on what you have already gained, you need to stay ahead. So this, in essence, is what the pushing battles are about. You want to get ahead. For example, consider this joseki which Alexandrii Roshkin has already shown you a couple of times. Here, here and here. White plays a keima, a knight's move, in order to surround your stone. Your first reaction, your basic instinct if you like, I'm referring to another video I have made, is to play here. You don't want to be blocked in the corner. White plays here, extending his position. Now, of course, there is a joseki in which you push from behind, but you do not want it to happen too often, because if you do it, white's wall becomes stronger and stronger. If there were any attacking moves against white's position, they're becoming less and less useful. So you gain stability by pushing here, but you exchange this stability for the assets you give to your opponent. This joseki has two moves now. One move is trying to get ahead, which of course leaves you with a weakness. White can either just push yet another time and get his wall stronger, or in some circumstances he can unleash a sequence of cuts. Which then allows him to play this move, not being afraid of black's retaliation, because whatever black does here will end up in a shortage of liberties. You can't continue like that, you will have to back up, and then white's position is solid, and you even gained a part of a corner. So this is a trade-off really. You try to get ahead in a pushing battle, but in exchange you concede a weakness. This weakness is less pronounced and less important if it happens like here on the edge of a board, but if your running battle is happening somehow in the center, then leaving such a weakness may become a problem. If you want to get ahead, you can try to play a keima, which is another kind of trade-off. You get more solid position because if it happens near the edge, then there is no cut. However, should similar sequence occur near the center of the board, then a cut becomes perfectly possible. Here, here, and here it depends on the ladder. If the ladder doesn't work like in this example, then black might be in a little bit of trouble. So naturally there is a question, what can happen if you are caught in a pushing battle near the center of the board, but you really want to make this turn, you really want to make this keima? The answer is simple. You push one more time. And now you are kind of connected, because if white tries to push and cut, then it doesn't work. He gets caught in a net. So 2 stones don't protect the keima, but 3 stones are usually a sufficient protection to play this move. Of course, you need to understand that the opponent can play on the other side and create some trouble for you, but this is not a pushing battle. This is more complex kind of a fight, and you're still connected, so this may not be too bad. By the way, if you want to memorize all the scenarios connected with pushing battles and pushing from behind, a good place to start is a Sansan invasion joseki. Black of course blocks, white extends, and now black, who will be ahead on the next move, has a choice. Either to play hane, after which white plays here. If black extends, then black does the same. Now white chooses between this move and this move. This one is more solid, but this one leaves this side more open and may be viewed as a preparation for an invasion. Of course, black, being ahead and thus having to decide what to do, can opt for a fight, namely for a double hane, which leads to the exchange you probably already know. Another black's possibility is to just continue. This is good enough. Now white chooses between playing here and getting hane at the head of 3 stones. Now there are various continuations which I will not be explaining. And another white's choice is to play here, after which black can either force the same position or play something more active, which might lead to a fight which starts like that. So basically the choices of a side who is ahead are continuing in a straight line, playing a hane, and possibly, in one way or the other, a tenuki, which is a valid option here. Options for the side that is behind are continuing in a straight line, playing keima to get ahead, or playing a jump to get ahead, after which you must be aware of the possibility of a cut. I think this sums up the pushing battles quite nicely. And now there is this scary game which I'm even afraid to look at, between Dang Yifei 9 dan as black and Liang Xiao 9 dan as white. It starts like that. Black immediately goes to the corner, white builds a wall, black chooses one of the options what to do when being pushed from behind and disengages with a keima. Now white approaches this corner and black plays a tenuki, which of course allows white to build an imposing moyo at the top, like here. Now black plays an important move in a Joseki. It just blocks this wall from extending, and it cooperates well with this stone. So white plays a hane, which his shape allows, and now we have a pushing battle in which black pushed from behind 3 times. Moreover, it seems to give white a territory at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th line. Of course, this is not entirely true, because next black move shows that white's shape is a bit awkward. There are stones which have only 3 liberties, there is a cutting point here, and after cutting here, black may be able to crawl on the first line and take much of this territory. So obviously white defends. Now it's black's choice. Again, being pushed from behind, he decides to disengage with a keima. And now, if white wanted, he might have thought about hitting here. The reason is that we have a wall, we have a shimari, and what we want to happen is to keep this shimari as flat as possible. After building such an imposing wall, black would be naturally reluctant to be reduced to building just a 3rd line territory, and white in this position would probably find some kind of a shape move, perhaps here, and build something interesting, perhaps blocking this shimari from this side. I'm not showing the exact sequences, only the idea. Of course, another black's possibility is to jump here, but in this case, white should be able to disengage relatively easily, flatten opponent's position, and then direct his attention elsewhere. However, white wanted to make this fight even more complicated. Played here, reducing the influence of this shimari and hoping that this moyo will be enough for him. But black found a really unusual, strange and beautiful move which tries to do 2 things at once. First, to solidify the moyo, and second, to dissuade white from any tricks like this, because now any shape white builds here would run against this stone. White, of course, doesn't want his opponent to build a huge moyo, and this move is interesting because it not only does it threaten to build something here, but also gives a chance of building something at the bottom. Add 1 stone and you have a strange but quite efficient shape in the corner. So this is a moment when the fight starts, and I would very much prefer stronger players to explain what was going on here.